man. Um, this is my attempt. Instead of making a video in the, not that I'm not going to make a video this week trading. I didn't go to work today. I will tomorrow. Uh, but this is my attempt at going back and doing some back testing of what you were just talking about in your video, rather than sitting here getting distracted and not doing anything. So I put the camera on, decided to record it. That way I actually have to focus and maybe talk through with my stuff. Maybe this will be more helpful to me than actually, trying to make a video in the morning. So yeah, because of that, I feel like it may be a little bit different, not walking through exactly everything that I'm doing in the morning, but more or less just uh putting stuff on my chart and looking at things and asking questions where it matters versus where I have them. But I already feel like this is going to be a little bit of a struggle, but it's fine. Okay, so one question I know that I had. Let's go back to the 15-minute chart. And I did do this. I think I did this before I started recording the other day, or maybe I actually did it on the video. Where's my opening range gap? Opening range gap. Okay, low to here. This is the opening range gap that we were pulling from. And you had your grades on here. There. There. About. Okay. And one thing you said was 2 times, right? Well, maybe three. 1, 2, 3. 3 times we traded up into this city, opening range gap, couldn't get to the upper quadrant, couldn't get to consequent encroachment. So in my mind, that means that there is, because, let me gather my thoughts. There's still buy side there, and there's still buy side there. So you're talking about in your video looking to, it's not going to take that because 2 times we failed to get up into the upper quadrant. Yes, you're right. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm asking the question, but I still see this as, okay, yes, we haven't traded up above this, but there's a buy side pool right here. There's a buy side pool right here, and we still haven't touched any of the upper quadrant or upper half of this opening range gap. Maybe I should draw this over because it was pertinent for that morning. So let me do that real quick. Okay. So I understand your point as far as if this is the 15-minute range we're working in, and from high, maybe go down to a 1-minute chart now, I guess. From high to low, you're waiting for, if you're bearish, you're waiting for that previous range. That's the buy side liquidity that needs to be taken before you sell short. Now, part of my long trade here was because when I was looking at this, I was looking at, well, let me go back to my electronic trading hours, right? I was looking at this high right here as a pre-market. I just wiped my chart before I open this video, so don't get caught up in my bullshit that's not making sense. Let me slow down here. Where's 9:30? Open. 930 is right there. So okay, this is what I was looking at. I was looking at the high after 8, this high, get taken right there. That's what I was looking at. And so when this traded down, left first presented fair value gap, and then got below today. I don't have it on. I'll put it on there. I'll put it on there since we're talking about it. Opening range gap. Back to electronic trading hours. Okay, it's right here. I think I sold short in the lower part of this candle. And the premise was that if this was my pre-market buy side and we took it right there, 930 opened, traded up, there's this fair value gap, and came all the way down here and I'm bearish. Traded up into first presented fair value gap and closed back below the opening range gap. Now granted, I don't want to watch that video again. I really don't. It was pathetic. But I do see this quadrant right here. Now that's your quadrant. And that would leave a little bit of hesitancy in my mind, at least as I'm thinking of it now, of selling short on this candle. However, back to my initial premise, if it was we took this high, traded all the way down here, after 930 manipulation, into first presented fair value gap, closed below the opening range gap again, that's why I sold short right here. Because in my mind, we had already taken this buy side. Now, let me just take those off, I guess. Going to regular trading hours, I do understand of why this high to this low as your range, this is the high that needs taken. 930 clearly did not do that, which would, if someone was expecting that or learned to look for it or back tested it enough before selling short, looking for, okay, this is actually the buy side that I'm looking for to be taken before I sell short, then ultimately this long and waiting to over here, waiting for after 10 o'clock or the next 15-minute candle all makes complete sense to me. So I don't want to lose my train of thought, man. This makes sense. Now let's talk about my long for a minute. I think, let's do this. My 5-minute chart. Where's my AM? I think it was right here. I think oh, it's gonna put a bunch of shit on my chart, huh? Yeah, okay. We'll make this line just for now. Sure. Okay, and I had the 5-minute high time frame indicator over here, right? So I was looking at my 5-minute chart too. And I saw that this 5-minute chart took the low of the previous 5-minute candle, was respecting the low or the consequent encroachment of that opening range gap. Let me zoom in. Its body staying above it. It already traded all the way down here and didn't go lower. And then we had a 5-minute, in what I was looking at, we had a 5-minute change in the state of delivery after taking the previous 5-minute low. And so this was my entry because I remember talking about it. That line, that black line I just put on there. I think I was entering on this candle. Yeah, the 10:05 candle, the open of that next 5-minute candle. I bought that as it traded down because it was ultimately a immediate rebalance of the previous 5-minute candle, wherever it was. It was the high of the wick, right? And if it was any other day and we were bullish, it would have been fine. But again, I just got screwed up in my head that day because I thought we had already taken electronic trading hours buy side, traded down. I tried going short because I was bearish. It wasn't going short, and we made it all the way back up here, and I started throwing a bunch of shit on my chart like optimal trade entry and this and that and whatnot. Um that I guess I would call that performative because I don't normally throw the optimal trade entry fib on my chart like ever. Um so yeah, Friday was just ridiculous for me. Um But that was my premise: is buy side was taken. We traded all the way back down. I tried going short in first percent of fair value gap. That clearly wasn't it. We traded higher into optimal trade entry. 5 minute bodies were respecting the consequent encroachment of the opening range gap, created a change in the state of delivery, and I was buying it on an immediate rebalance, thinking that okay, now because I did have these levels on here, these are the 15-minute highs from beginning of July, and we hadn't traded this upper quadrant. And so I guess there's a number of questions in there. One, you your thoughts were it's not going we tried one time, two times to get up into the 50% level or take this buy side high and this buy side high, and we couldn't do it. And so that's why I think it's not going to today, especially because I'm bearish. Ultimately, I was bearish too. That makes sense. But getting tangled up in my mind, okay, if we were already down here, didn't want to go lower, now we're all the way back up above here. Um, you know, I don't understand or how to tell the difference, at least on this day, between okay, it is bearish that we haven't been able to take this high, or get into the consequent encroachment, versus no, it's actually a draw because this is a pool of buy side, this is a pool of buy side, and all the way from back early July, we haven't worked the upper quadrant of this at all. So that is one thing that you could help me with, or just help me understand the difference between how to differentiate this is showing me bearishness versus this actually becomes my draw, if I'm articulating that well enough. Um so I guess now I don't want to wipe this. I'm not going to wipe it. Let me take this off of here because we don't use it. This is I like this thing because a lot of the time it'll give me the high and low that I'm looking for, and it's easy to find certain time of days. It's irrelevant for what I'm talking about right now. Anyway, um, okay, so let me make this thicker. So far, I have to say, how far am I into this video? 13 minutes. This is the most I've been able to, not the most, but so far, this video, in my opinion, because I know it's going to get a response from you and you're going to be able to help me with certain things, has been far more helpful than watching another ICT video, or I don't know. This is just easy, and it makes me focus for longer than 5 minutes at a time. Um, so what buy side was this? I think that was electronic trading hours. Delete that. Okay, so that was the opening range gap open, or 9:30 open right there. I'm gonna even make this a little bit thicker. And these are our quadrants. So I feel like sometimes backtesting is difficult because it is genuinely so much easier for me to think and focus when candles are moving and I have to think ahead and, like, say, for example, this is all I see, right? This is all I have. And so going back, it's easy to paint a picture of, yeah, I could sell short right here, right here, right here. I'm losing my focus. Okay, nine. I feel like this is the part where I need to shut up and actually figure out what I'm doing. And now it's hard because the camera's on. You're gonna have to bear with me in a back testing ramblings video like you've made. Shit, man, I can't gather my thoughts. This is a pain in the ass. Okay, I'll try and do what you did. So, if this is our previous 15-minute range on regular trading hours, if this is where we open, this has not yet been tagged, and neither has this. So that's where our range goes. Then we go down to the 1-minute chart, and we say, okay, 9:30 opens here. Here's our buy side. There's a SIBI right here. And I guess to your point of, watching the first couple candles, one, these 1-minute candles aren't even going inside the SIBI. So that's bearish, I guess. The only thing I don't quite understand is talking about how these wicks in here on a 15-second chart or whatever are manipulation. I'm not sure. I understand it, but I don't understand it because it's not like anything was taken up here. So if by manipulation you just mean it ran into a premium knowing that it's going to come back down, or having the premise that it's going to come back down pre 9:45 or whatever, sure. But regardless, if you have your 15-minute high, you're like, okay, where's my nearest fair value gaps? And you're like, here's a fair value gap, here's a fair value gap, here's your CB. You can't close above it, can't do nothing. You wake up, can't touch the high, and then you close your body below the open of that 15-minute candle. On the note of the 15-minute candles, I was a little bit confused at times, mostly because I couldn't tell if you were talking about sell. I realized there was context behind each 15-minute candle, and sometimes it differs, and maybe I just need to go look at things more. But specifically regarding, okay, am I looking for a close below the open or the wick of those first 15-minute candles? Okay, so answer me that as well. But anyway, so let's say I had your big brain while I was doing this, right? Manipulation. There's a fair value gap right here. Couldn't get into the fair value gap, traded up, and then we closed below our first 1-minute candle within the first couple of minutes of the new 15-minute candle. So maybe it's this 933 candle. As anything above the opening price of this 933 candle, sell it, possibly. Or wait for this 933 candle to close, and anything above the opening price of this 934 candle, sell it. Now, understanding that we're still before 10 o'clock, 9:45, whatever, in my opinion, even if I were to sell, say here, I would not want to just hold that. Granted, I took a short right here. Let's not talk about it, okay? Within the market conditions, I feel like I would still only take it down to this low, or try and hit consequent encroachment of this right here, or of this wick. In fact, I'll just put that on there because I'll get to it. Right there. Right there. Trying to get the consequent encroachment, right? 50 handles. Great. So you can clarify for me as far as the 15-minute candle theory goes. Maybe it depends on the context. Maybe you have a clearer answer as far as whether it's specifically the wick or the body. And I understand it changes depending on what your bias is and what direction the candle closes. So another thing, as far as strength goes, kind of what I was talking about up here as far as at what point does this does this opening range gap, quadrants, 2 levels of buy side become, okay, we're not going up there because we couldn't do it 2 times prior, or we're going up there because it hasn't been touched yet, and now we're going up there. Consequent encroachment of this. Let's say I took a trade here, or here, because I did, and at a minimum was trying to hit consequent encroachment of this wick. Now, in a perfect world, a take profit probably would have been right above it, because sometimes it wants to be a little piece of shit like this, and I've lost trades because of that, and so sometimes I'll just put my take profit a little bit above it. Okay. Anyway, it's despite the fact I'm a really good trader. That would have hit. Um, how within the next 3 to 4 minutes of it not touching this consequent encroachment do I look at this and be like, okay, we came just short. I'm bearish. First presented fair value gap, opening range gap. I'm going to sell short because now I want it to hit consequent encroachment because it didn't right there. And now we have a whole nother liquidity pool on top of the low and the lower lows I was looking at. So yeah, that's a question. But other than that, in general, I think I understand. If you're bearish, relative trading hours, hot relative. What does it stand for? Regular trading hours high. That's the liquidity pool that I need taken or purged. Trades down. So what? I don't think you did this. No, you didn't. Not that you couldn't. I mean, it was right in there, but you know, this is again, it's that little hang up in my mind as far as, but there's two highs. So for example, let's put these on there. Okay. Optimal trade entry, high to low. We took the high, displacement lower, trade back up into optimal trade entry. I know the bodies tell the story and the wicks do the damage, okay? Bodies are staying within the 79% level, great. But even on this note, having this high, and this long-term high, it is still incredibly hard for me to look at this and be like, this does not need taken before we sell off. Because it's even from the small fact of it's high enough. I can't even say that because the logic doesn't make sense. So it's just screwed up in my mind. But it's high enough above optimal trade entry that to a certain point in my mind it becomes now they're relative equal highs, not purged liquidity and optimal trade entry. Does that make sense? So again, I feel like back to our conversation we had the other day. Back to our conversation the other day. There's so much in my mind. Like, yes, there's certain things regarding market structure that I could clear up, but my brain at times when we have consequent encroachments or relative equal highs and I'm bearish, it does not like pressing the button here because we've inverted a fair value gap, taken liquidity because there's two relative equal highs up there. It's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass because there's times where I don't take a trade because I don't like having these two highs so close to each other, not taken out, yet there's one entry, two entries, maybe three entries, four, I don't know. You know, so I don't know. I think I've asked enough questions here. I'm going to do my best to go back a couple days and look at things or mark things out and I know we did this, or oh, it was this day that you did in your video. Even this, okay, sure, let's go into it. Get the octaves, da 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 da. You opened right here, 15-minute high to 15-minute low. Okay, then grab a couple regular trading hours, 15-minute PDRAs. We'll grab a as a SIBI. Put that back on here to here. Bring that over. Might be our only one. Maybe right in there. Doesn't matter. Okay. 1 minute chart. Go down into here. And then we can say, well, actually, one more thing. I know. Okay. I think this is the thing I made. Yes, there's my green candle. Which makes this technically an order block. I would think. And for opening above it, I don't want to keep doing too much, but this is the way that my brain works. So you can tell me, get that shit off of your chart. But I feel like this is how my brain would work. So if from our close to our open of regular trading hours, new day, this is a green candle. Here's our 15-minute low. I would only classify this as a change in the state of delivery because this is a green candle right here. That's the only reason. If this was a stream or just all black down closed candles and we had one big green candle, I don't know that I could bring myself to think of it as a change in the state of delivery. But because this green candle has a swing high and separates this final black candle, that's why I would look at this as a bullish order block. Now, I put grades on the wick because that's what I would do. And I'll try to change them color here if I even... Yeah, it's all freaking red. I need to fix my shit. Thick. Alright, cool. So if this is our 15-minute BC, right here, or SIBI, this is our opening range gap, or big green candle. I understand, if you were bullish, why any PD array below equilibrium or in a discount would be a discount if you were extremely bullish and wanted to buy it. On the note of my 15-minute candle, I do see, I was just talking about the 15-minute black candle down there, which is why it's an order block, yada, yada, yada. Getting distracted and it's pissing me off. There's so much shit down here. Like, too many quadrants that are red. I'm not changing the color. It's fine. If I had this on here, this big green candle is a whole lot easier to see for me here on the 1-minute chart than the 15-minute chart, primarily because it actually does close above all of this bullshit. But I still, on that note, look at these two relative equal lows, these lows right here, and don't understand the premise of how we're going to run 430 handles without taking liquidity that at our lowest point was piece of shit magnet 50 handles below us, or the lowest one below that 40 handles. How are you going to give people... They obviously did. There's obviously a way. How are you going to give people 430 points worth of profit when, in order to get those people out of the market, you got to send a nasty wick down 55 handles, which is easy, and then you can run it and do whatever the big market people want to do, right? So it's not that It's not that if I went into this morning and was incredibly bullish that I may or may not have done something, because regardless of how you broke this down on a 15-second chart, or your 15-minute premise, as far as, okay, 1 2 still haven't touched the opening price, this could be manipulation, especially if you're bullish. Okay, we hit a 15-minute high time frame regular trading hours PD array, we're below consequent encroachment of our opening range gap, bam, trade above it right there, sell the next candle. And the 15-minute change in this, the 15-second change in this delivery right here, bearing or taking into account the other PD rays I just noticed again. I don't understand how one could look at this and think, yeah, it's going to rip 430 handles without taking out. I mean, if I put this back on again, what time is this? 11 o'clock. 1 2 major pools of regular trading hours sell side liquidity. And it's just to clarify again, it's obviously not because it can't, because it did. So there is something in my mind that I have to fix as far as how my brain sees lows and highs and pertinent lows and highs that makes it impossible for me to take my trade if something I thought was going to be taken or needed to be taken was not taken. So yeah. Okay. Now that I went through my questions and the things that you did on your video, this video is already a half an hour long. But I don't think for backtesting I'm being that boring. I think it's still helping me to a certain degree. Okay, so now I'll see, I can already see it, and I didn't even put no marks on here. Big green candle right here. Big green candle. Manipulation, right? PM high, taken. High, taken. Here's our range. Actually, we'll go octants. Bam. To the low at the time. Right there. Big green candle. 15-minute candle opens. Kablooey. Right? Bear. We'll put it in there. Bearish order block. Sibby. Bam. To bam. Oh wait. BC. Bissy. Okay. Same shit as today. Trades up. High. High. Anything into a premium. You've taken, I guess not this 15-minute swing high, but from a session perspective, there's 130. So maybe that counts. But you have your high after 10 o'clock. Takes it out one more time. And you're above equilibrium. So if you're going to sell short, or if you're bearish, anything above equilibrium is a premium. So potentially this in here. Well, look at this. Where is it? Oh, I deleted it. I was fixing some of my presets the other day, and I had a focus here. That way I could put a box on the screen and then go down to my lower time frame chart and go look at wherever my box was to be able to find the place easier. But for this example, we'll just use this box. So up in here, that's where we want to look, above equilibrium. If we're bearish, we created a bearish order block with the opening range gap, traded all the way through it, up into a premium, the 50% level of the opening range gap, or no, not our opening range gap, the range, and the range of the 15-minute relative regular trading hours is right in line with the consequent encroachment of the opening range gap. So anyway, let's go down to our 1 minute chart. Let's try and get some more shit on there. First percent of fair value gap. Where? I think I remember this day. 9:30, or what is that? 7:26 to 7:18. This might even have been when you're like, I don't use 10-minute for, or less than 10 handle first percent of fair value gaps again. That might have been that day. Silver bullet. Where's 10 o'clock beforehand? 10 a.m. open. Right here. This is still after 11 o'clock. Shit, bro. My shit might have been already done. Like the way I see the market, I might have been looking at this low, maybe even this low. And if all that shit happened before 10 o'clock, which it did, right? Sell side, we'll go here. I might have mentally tuned out. But you're also talking about how with the regular trading hours and that premise, how that will get you external range liquidity versus just, if you want to call this a scalp or whatever that is. But anyway, let's go back. Okay, sure. We have this low down here, right? This is what we were shooting for. So 15 minute bearish order block, trades down. I'm sure if I put optimal trade entry from the high to the low on here, it's right in there. Look at that shit. Too much green. Look at that shit, right? So where's our silver bullet for value gap? 10 a.m. There's a volume imbalance right there. And then because it was after 11 a.m. as well, we'll just do this. 11 is right here. Okay, and 11 a.m.'s first position fair value gap is a breakaway gap. So ultimately on a regular day, my trade, I would have been done, and it would have been back here, trying to shoot for down here. I think I do remember this day, and I would have tuned out mentally because I missed my trade or whatever. Yeah, I know I did because I didn't do shit the last 2 weeks. I pressed the button, and I was pissed off about it. But from your regular trading hours perspective, and you can correct me if I'm right or wrong on this, but where is it? My logic would be trades up or opens up here. Here's our range. Consequent encroachment of the range. Bearish order block. If we're incredibly bearish, beyond the lows I was looking at, down to these lows, then you're looking for it to trade up into a premium. If this is all just manipulation and displacement along with this, then your premium would have been above that consequent encroachment, kind of like whichever this day, right down here, right? Granted, the manipulation on those 2 days looks a little bit different. And then with the correct bias, I would just need to find an entry somewhere in here. Freaking hair in my mouth, what the hell? So you can correct me on that. Maybe it's as easy as that, and I'm just, art sometimes, or just failed to look at the big picture because I've been triggered and angry. Yeah, okay. Let's say that. I can't do myself a disservice. I feel like to a certain degree I skipped this day because it was a massive... Is this Monday? No, it's not. I don't want to do myself a disservice by skipping this day. Okay, so yeah, let's try this. So first things first, this would be our most recent 15-minute swing high down to our low. I already feel like this is going to be a pain in the ass. It just means I need to look at it more. But I don't know how to look at it when I'm not videoing because this level of focus is non-existent on a normal day, right, man? So there's that. Then you would potentially look for, I mean, this is pretty, you could look at this candle and be like, yeah, I'm bullish. Maybe. So the same premise, look for some sort of previous relative regular trading hours PD array in a discount. So if here's our range, here's our 50%, it would need to be below 50%, and the one I see is right there. Let's turn this back on for a minute. Okay. I mean, that's the only one we freaking hit. Now, as far as after 10 o'clock goes, and before 10 o'clock, I feel like we could agree that this looks like dog shit. So if I were to be honest and was like, yeah, I trade the New York AM session and I'm not there during the PM. I mean, this whole day looks like dog shit, right? I mean, what is this bullshit in here? Like, what in the hell, man? Um, but if I wasn't the way I am and I did the things I was supposed to do, I would have a little bit of a hard. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. It's not like we went long here up 420 handles. It was the following day. But after my questions with this and going over it earlier, even more so, having consequent encroachment of this opening range gap right below all of these relative equal lows, I understand this order block premise, but why does it not go down there? Why would it not? Why does it not need to? Um, yeah, I'm gonna end the video there. I feel like I asked plenty of questions. Some, I feel like I got some good focus. Um, maybe to a certain degree, these backtesting videos are more helpful to me than like actually trading in the morning because that's the time this thing doesn't work up here, right? Um, yeah, it doesn't matter. I think there's plenty of questions in there that maybe you could help me answer. Um, Not that every time I go back testing, I want to hit the record button, but son of a bitch, it makes it a lot easier, especially knowing that if I have questions, they'll actually get answered versus my brain try and be like, so what do I do now? Because I don't know, right? Um, anyway, yeah, I'm rambling. But your video was incredibly helpful. Um, Incredibly helpful. Gave me some stuff to think about. I think even in this, specifically like this day, and maybe that's why you talk about small opening range gaps are a little bit easier. I feel like you mentioned it a couple times. Maybe I'm wrong. Because it gives you more to work with if you're looking to get outside of your range or even within your range. I didn't go and dial down quadrants very much as far as like, oh, body's respecting that quadrant. Let's go. I didn't do too much with the 15-minute candles, but I think I understand the premise, and given the right context, may or may not be able to do something with that in the future. I'll go look at it more. I'm not just going to press the button because you told me to on the 15-minute candle close, okay? But yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling. This was helpful. Your video was helpful. Answer my questions. And anytime I go back to this now, you're gonna have a video to watch, I guess. I don't know. Peace out, bro.